which back on April 4th in 1922, the Virginia's Constitution was approved at ASCE board meeting. So the Virginia section is officially 100 years old. We're here today to dedicate the Crozet tunnel as part of our celebration, and I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I'll turn it over now to Vic to carry on with the ceremony. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. I'm the chair of the Centennial Committee, and we have a number of speakers today that are going to go through the program, talk about the history of ASCE, history of our landmark that we're going to dedicate today, and then talk a little bit about all the work that went into making this possible. The tunnel, the access to the tunnel, opening the tunnel back up and things. So I have somebody from the foundation. But our first speaker is going to set the stage for what ASCE does. We have Tom Smith. He's the executive director of ASCE. Tom has been the director since 2015. Got to quit walking around here. He also has been an active member of ASCE for 25 years. He's trained as a civil engineer, and as a director, he oversees about 200 staff, and this staff have been very supportive of our Centennial. Nancy Burson actually has regular meetings to kind of talk about what we do in all of our Centennials, lessons learned, how we can do it better. So Nancy Burson, Kevin helped us out with our press release and all. So his staff. He also oversees about 10,000 volunteers. We have volunteers in the geographic part, our officers of our regions, our sections, our branches, our international, Region 10 is international. So those are all very active and supporting the program, promoting the profession. And then in addition to that, he also has leadership over about 150,000 civil engineers spread out around the world. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tom Smith.
Thank you. Greetings, everybody, and thank you, Vic, and thank you, Christina. Thank you to the Virginia section. It's a great pleasure to be here. As Vic mentioned, this is one program taking place. Our president is actually, he just left Canada with the Canadian Society for Civil Engineering, and he's been at the International Conference on Transportation and Development, talking about projects looking forward. Much like you've seen here, this is a project from the 1800s, but now we're designing infrastructure to look out for the next 100 and beyond years. So we're doing a lot of work all over the world. We've got 150,000 members in 177 countries. We actually started in 1852 with 12 people. Just wanted to build connections among civil engineers and advance the civil engineering profession. About the same time that this design and construction was taking place on the Crozet tunnel that you're going to learn more about today. So I just want to say thank you all. Thank you to the many volunteers, the civil engineers who are building our quality of life as we look forward, and we're also celebrating the historical heritage and the many things, the incredible accomplishments that civil engineers do to bring us safe, sustainable, resilient infrastructure as we look ahead. So my thanks to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Remember to get back up here by the microphone. Thank you very much. Part of our program is having our historical landmarks, and that's a program that's been going on for a number of years. And so we have Bernie Dennis is going to come up and talk about the national program for landmarks. I've been working with Bernie for a number of years. We worked together on the National Capital Section Centennial that we did in 2016. He's been a major supporter of our program, helping us identify getting our plaques taken care of, how to repair them, which unfortunately, when you'll see, we're going to be doing a little repair work on our plaque here. But his guidance has been very timely to talk about how we take care of our plaques, gave us a history. This is a rededication. We actually had a plaque here somewhere in 1976. And so we're doing a rededication of our plaque today, and he provided all the history on that plaque. So with that, I would like to introduce Bernie Dennis from the National Historic Landmark Committee. Thank you, Vic. Thank you, Vic, and welcome everybody. 7 years ago, simple words, okay, but familiar to us all. When we hear them, we immediately recognize that they were Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and in a simple way of counting, he set the stage 87 years. That's 87 years. 87 years takes you back to 1776, the start of our country. Okay? And he delivered it at Gettysburg, which was remembering the sad event of our Civil War. Okay? Simple words so that we'll never forget the sacrifice that was made at that site. It's fitting today that we're bookending. We had Monday, Memorial Day, and we're coming up on July 4th, Independence Day, 1776. Okay, so we're here today to talk about the historic civil engineering landmark. 218 years ago, somebody's got to be doing the math now, but I'll help you. That's 1964. The American Society of Civil Engineers began its history program, establishing the History and Heritage Committee to promote civil engineering and the profession, and demonstrate its impact on national physical legacy, and to create public and member understanding of civil engineering. The historic Civil Engineering Landmark Program is the most visible and successful activity of the committee. ASCE's Civil Engineering Landmark Program recognizes historically significant local, national, and international structures, projects, and sites, and through dedications and physical plaque placement at the site, plus an online presence where you can get information. We have endeavored to increase the public's appreciation of civil engineering contributions and the progress made in the development of our society. We provide civil engineers with an historical awareness of their own profession, and both for practical interests and for pride. We encourage the preservation of significant historic landmarks, and we foster the inclusion of civil engineering landmarks information in encyclopedias, guidebooks, and maps. Okay, here's another one. 216 years ago, in 1966, the first historic civil engineering landmark dedicated was the Bowman Truss Bridge in Savage, Maryland, designed by Wendell Bowman. It's still there. Savage is just a few miles south of Baltimore. If you're ever up that way, stop by and take a look at it. Beautiful old cast iron and wrought iron structure, bridge at the mill up there, Savage Mill. But since that time, ASCE has recognized 270 national and 72 international historic civil engineering landmarks, plus close to 200 state and local historic civil engineering landmarks. To qualify as a landmark, it requires that it must meet some strict criteria. It must be either the first or the last remaining example of the work. Okay, the bridge, it has to be like the first long bridge or the last long bridge remaining. So in Savage, the Bowman Truss is the last Bowman Truss remaining. So that's the only place you're going to see a Bowman Truss bridge like that. Okay, there is a small Bowman Truss. It's not the same bridge on the C&O Canal, but it's not anywhere near the complexity of the one at Savage. Okay, the landmark must have made a significant national or regional contribution to civil engineering, and it also must be at least 50 years old. The nomination packages are submitted by ASCE sections or branches
and there's a significant amount of research that has to go into it to present the project and the challenges that were faced, what engineering factors came into play, and also the short bios of the civil engineers involved with the project. Okay. Nominations are reviewed by the History and Heritage Committee, and once we agree that that's met all the criteria and the documentation is sound, we recommend it for approval to ASCE's Executive Board, and once they approve it, we move forward with a dedication ceremony like this with the section and the placement of the plaque. Okay? There are 7 National Historic Civil Engineering landmarks in Virginia. Your program has a little story on each one of them, but just to rattle them off real quick, the Blue Ridge Parkway, the Crozet Blue Ridge Tunnel, the Dismal Swamp Canal, the Fink Truss Bridge, Great Falls Canal and Lock, Norfolk Dry Dock Number 1, and the Old Cape Henry Lighthouse. All of these are in Virginia, so you want to try to figure out where they are and stop by and see them if you can. Each is unique and it has its own important history. The story behind each of these landmarks is available at ASCE's website. Go to asce.org and search on historic landmarks. It'll come up. You can see an alphabetical listing of all the landmarks that I've mentioned. Close to 300 landmarks you can go in and view. It's fun and it's informative to explore these landmarks. Some you'll recognize, some you'll never heard of. You won't even know where they are. The ones you'll recognize are things like the U.S. Capitol, the Washington Monument, and Statue of Liberty, for example. But other ones are sometimes more obscure. That's the whole purpose of our program, is to make the public and engineers aware of the less well-known sites where we have major civil engineering achievements. As part of the Centennial celebration, the Virginia section has created an interactive map that'll point you to the 7 landmarks in Virginia, plus a number of other ones that you may be interested in seeing. All you have to do is go to ascevirginia.org and click under Centennial Celebration, and you'll see the link to the interactive map. So when you get a chance, try that. Stemming from the landmark program, the History and Heritage Committee is developing biographical sketches, short sketches, for our webpage. It's a work in progress. We already have 45 available on our webpage, with another 125 in the works, and they'll be posted shortly, and there are more to come. It's a long process. It takes a while, but we're working away, whittling away a little bit at a time. You're here to hear about the Crozet Tunnel. So let me tell you just a little bit about that. Today, we're going to examine the tunnel through the Blue Ridge Mountains as a National Historic Civil Engineering landmark. The total length is 4,273 feet. That's quite a distance, and it's got quite a history. It was the longest tunnel in the United States upon its completion in 1858. It's the first tunnel in the U.S. driven without vertical shafts. A lot of times a long tunnel like that, they'll subdivide it and come down from the top so they can work in different directions. Okay, that also helps with ventilation and for removing material if necessary. Okay, this tunnel was a link to the Ohio River Basin and to the southern ports in Virginia. Okay, and it greatly enhanced the development of the ocean-borne economy of the South. We remember the work of Claudius Crozet, a French-born civil engineer known at the time for various works on roads, canals, and railroads. After serving in Napoleon's army for 6 years as an artilleryman and engineer, Crozet, a graduate of